All right, we're going to continue our series, you know, on the iceberg theory. And just for those of you who might be new, I put a copy of the iceberg theory. It's in that area what Loretta was mentioning. If you go down Vince's Corner, down to the bottom, you'll see different types of things. At the bottom, you'll see the iceberg theory PDF, and you can download it. It's a whole entire chapter about the iceberg theory. Okay, I want to start today by doing a reading because our topic today is the illusion of fear. So we're moving into a different direction today. Talked about control last week. We'll talk a lot about fear today. I picked a reading from January the 10th from the language of letting go. Do not be too timid and squeamish about your actions. All life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. What if they are a little coarse and you may get your coat soiled or torn? What if you fail and get fairly rolled in the dirt once in a while? Up again, you shall never be so afraid of a tumble. That's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Fear can be a big stopper for many of us. Fear of being fragile, fear of failure, fear of making a mistake, fear of what others might think, fear of success. They second guess our action or word till we talk ourselves out of participating in life. But I failed before. I can't do it good enough. Look at what happened last time. What if? These statements may disguise fear. Sometimes that fear is disguising shame. Relax, our best is good enough. It may be better than we think. Even our failures may turn out to be important learning experiences that lead directly to and necessary for an upcoming success. Let go of fear, then let it go. Jump in and do it, whatever it is. If our instincts and path have led us there, it's where we need to be. Today I participate in life to the best of my ability, regardless of the outcome. That honestly makes me a winner. You know, one of the things we talked about in the iceberg theory is the fact that it's a theory where literally so many of us have been frozen for such a long period of time. And now we have to learn how to defrost the iceberg, get in touch with our feelings, and then be able to move forward in a positive direction. So I really want to talk, last week I talked about what I call the illusion of control. And I mentioned the fact that two of the most powerful elements of the iceberg theory are control and fear. I don't know about you, but I know that control and fear immobilized my life for a long period of time. I don't want to go back there. On occasion, I probably still do. They're part of my journey. But I'm learning over and over again that these things are illusions. Because if you truly do face them and embrace them and walk through them, then you begin to find out they're not real. But many of us, because of our insecurities, because of the ways in which we were raised, and many of us have learned different things in different directions, we have a tendency to migrate towards different elements of fear and control. But fear to me is the most powerful one of all. Because fear to me is just a cover for shame. You notice in the iceberg diagram, shame is the core heart of everything, and fear surrounds it. And I know in life, so many times in life, my life has been hindered by different elements of fear. One of the big ones I never truly understood, but now I do, was fear of success, fear of being accepted, fear of being found out. These are all fears. And so many of us live these fears deep down inside of ourselves for a long period of time. I always love telling the story, which kind of fits in with the reading today, of that wonderful book, you know, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. That book is pretty powerful. And one of the things I find interesting is how it got published. You know what's interesting too? They did a special on this on TV. And literally, when he wrote that book, or was wanting to write it, he was a pastor in a very predominant church in New York. And basically, they told him if he ever wrote that book, The Power of Positive Thinking, they would ostracize him from the church, and he would lose his pastorship. Nobody would publish it. They were scared of the church. And so finally, in desperation, he figured it's never going to get published. So he threw it into a trash can, got rid of it, and he said, that's it. But his wife didn't give up on him. She took it out of the trash can, and she found the publisher she had something on. And she basically blackmailed the publisher into publishing it. And it became a national bestseller. I use this as an example because so many times in life, when we think we can't do something, we have fear about getting something accomplished. We have fear about meeting certain goals. So many times we have a tendency to fall short because we get scared, we get afraid, and fear takes over. But if I truly understand the fact that if I have faith, I have patience, I trust, and I realize the fact that somehow, some way, it does find its way and it goes to where it's supposed to go. But so many of us, I want to share on a personal level just to begin with, growing up in my own household, I grew up in Camden back in the 40s, and everything was about fear. Fear was the predominant thing because we lived in little clusters, immigrants that came from this country, from a different country, and we were not allowed to mix with anybody else. We were scared and afraid of anybody else. Even the Catholic Church back then, in Camden, we had 7 different Catholic churches. We had the synagogue, but everybody went to the church that was part of their heritage. Because we had the German Catholic Church, the Italian Catholic Church, we had the African American Catholic Church, we had the Spanish Catholic Church, and my God in heaven. So many of us are so scared and afraid of each other, even to a point where I was trained and taught never go into any church except the Italian church. I thought something would happen to me if I went into the other ones. But the bottom line was, it was all these prejudices, all these fears, fear of somebody else, fear of somebody's different, fear of this and fear of that. And many of us were put into that. People came from their own issues and their own backgrounds and created very many times a powerful element of fear. And so fear of change, fear of growth, fear of moving in new directions, fear of being open, fear of being able to look at life in different ways. I'm no different than you or anybody else. I know a lot of times in my life because of fear, I battled and avoided so many things in life. Technology was a big part of it. I was scared to death of it. And fear held me back for a long period of time. But it's funny sometimes how it's almost like somebody's got to come along, kick you in the right spot, get you moving, and then finally you give it a try. That's how I learned how to be able to embrace fear. Now, I remember way back when I had the thing called a flip phone. Remember the little flip phones? Some people still have them, I know. And the bottom line was my granddaughter was trying to talk me into getting a smartphone. And I couldn't figure out what the hell a smartphone was. Because it was a phone that was smart. What can I tell you? Anyway, she finally talked me into it. I got it. And then I didn't know what to do with it. And so she taught me how to get apps and do all these things and everything else. And it's just totally amazing. In the beginning, I was resistant to that too. I was resistant to any kind of change. But now I'm so grateful. I had the courage, with her help, of course, to walk through my fears, to walk to the other side. And now I look at technology totally differently. Does it have a negative side to it? Yes, it does. It's also got a powerful positive side. So I'm learning to move away from the negative, to move into the positive, to use it in a positive way. I had the wonderful experience just recently, a month ago, of speaking. I go to my Eating Disorders Anonymous program, and they asked me to speak at a meeting in Ireland. Well, I saved a lot of plane fare by doing it on Zoom. And I actually had to do it 4 o'clock in the morning, but that's all right. But the bottom line was it was really neat to be able to be connected with other people, different parts of the country, different parts of the world, And then my granddaughter, who basically studied in Italy, taught me something called WhatsApp. Now I've got that on my phone too. It's amazing. Alana knows what I'm talking about. So the concept is, I now have a WhatsApp. And now my granddaughter's taking people on tours in Italy, and I can stay in touch with her. It's amazing the things we can do today. Doors open up, but I've learned the element to opening up a door is fear. Fear of other people, fear of criticism, what a big one. Fear I'm not going to do it right. Is there really a right? There is no right. I learned a long time ago, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's just things we have to try, we have to learn, we have to move forward. And yes, some things work, some things don't work. If they don't work, they're supposed to not work. Can I learn from them? Can I grow from them? And can I move forward? It's all part of it. I never thought my wildest dreams I'd write a book. But God has funny ways, and I'm learning over and over again through faith and trust to work through fears. And my greatest fear in the world was to write. Although I was trained by some beautiful people in Alcoholics Anonymous that writing is a great therapeutic tool. But I didn't think I had the quality of doing it. And then things work in strange ways. I've often said that sometimes when you actually get into these fears, you can start talking about them, getting in touch with them. You walk through them. You discover things about yourself that are unbelievable. I told you the story before, but my favorite stories. I gave a lecture back in 1984 or 85, I forget the year. But I gave a lecture at Malvern Institute in Pennsylvania. And after the lecture, I was sitting in the cafeteria having a cup of coffee, and some lady I never met before came and sat with me and had coffee. Her name was Annie. We sat down, we talked, and I said to her, everybody wants me to write a book. I'm scared to write a book. I don't know how to write a book. All my fears, all my stuff start coming out of me. And I said, Annie, someday I'm just going to get somebody, get people off my back. I want to get somebody to tape my lectures. It was tapes back then. And some of you guys might not know what a tape is, but anyway, back then. And I'm going to have them transcribe it onto a computer and give me the background. Maybe I can do something with it. And then he looked me right in the eye and she said, not a problem, Vince, I did it already. I've been coming to your lectures for a long time. I've been taping them. I've been transcribing them. The next week she brought in the manuscript of my first book. But that gift that she gave me started me on a path. And as a result, I've ended up writing 3 books. I've ended up doing all kinds of thoughts for the month, which you see on the website. I ended up doing all kinds of things I never did before. And I love to write now. But the amazing part about what kept me from that talent and from that gift was my fear. And the biggest fear was I won't be able to do it right. And there is no right. And so I'm learning over and over again now that somehow, when fear comes up, and fear can paralyze you. Shame can paralyze you. Especially for many of us, fear of success, fear of being able to ask for what we need, fear of being able to actually accomplish things. I have this tremendous fear in my life of being able to tell people my needs. I still struggle with that today. It's a fear because I'm afraid that they may not like what I say. And so I'm learning over and over again that I can work through this, but I can't do it by myself. I need help. I need strength. I need people to help me through it. And many of us have a lot of fears. Fear of dying, one of the biggest fears of all. Fear of losing someone close to us. Fear of being able not to control things in life. One of the things I've learned over and over again, life is so fragile. It's so fragile. If you live your life in fear, you're never going to grow. You'll be stuck. And I'm learning over and over again today, you have to open up and try something new. You try things in different directions. I tell people this, but they tell me it's not true, but I tell them it is. Before I give a lecture, or Reddit will tell you, people will tell you, I'm always nervous. I'm always pacing. I'm always trying to get ready. In my mind, I'm not organizing anything, but I'm just nervous and I have a fear that I'm not going to remember anything. And then when I start giving them, all of a sudden, all these things start coming back. God works in mysterious ways. And I'll be honest with you, some lady approached me a few weeks ago after a lecture I gave, and she said, do you have a copy of what you gave? I said, no. Remember one of the things you said? She repeated. I said, no, I don't remember it. I don't remember what I said, let alone have a copy. I said, but we recorded it, and it will be on Mrs. Corner eventually. You can check it out. Because literally, I've learned over and over again, when you get out of the way, you work through your fears. Now, when I was a priest, I used to write my sermons, prepare them, memorize them, go over to the empty church, and practice them. You see, I had this fear of making sure everything was perfect. Then on Sunday morning, when I got up to give the sermon, in about 3 minutes, everybody was asleep. Took care of that one. And I learned after a while, I learned this from recovery. When you speak from your heart, from your experience, from your strength, and from your hope, you're speaking from you, not from a document, not from a book. You're speaking from the inside of you. Even this talks I'm giving on the iceberg theory. I read the chapter, and I could really spend the whole time telling you about the chapter, but I'm actually looking at the ways in which the iceberg theory has touched me in my life, and I'm sharing that with you. And if you want the whole chapter, I put it on Mrs. Corner. You can go get it if you want. I don't want us to stick to the chapter. I'm going to go from the experience and the things that happened from it. I know my whole entire life, I've told you this so many times, the first 44 years of my life, I lived in fear. I lived in control. Yeah, I functioned, and many of us function in many ways. But fear so many times, fear of being able to get close to someone, fear of intimacy, what powerful one, being scared and afraid of it. I know it took me years and years and years to finally deal with an issue I had for a long period of time, an issue of intimacy, of being able to share it with someone. I was always afraid. I found it better to stay in the cocoon than to move forward. I usually always use the analogy of the butterfly and the caterpillar. Sometimes staying in a cocoon is safer, but after a while you can't stay in it. Got to move forward. Was I scared? Yeah. Was I scared of developing a relationship with someone else? Was I scared of marriage? Was I scared of making changes in my life? Yeah, I was. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did it. You got to take some risks. You got to do what you got to do. And yet at the same time, I'm grateful today. I'm grateful for the beautiful lady that came into my life. I'm grateful for the way I've learned from her and she's learned from me. How we support each other and connect with each other. They were all fears for a long period of time. How could I do this? What will my family think? What would this one think? But you know what's so powerful about life? I finally learned this. And I share it with you as much as I can. My two favorite spiritual words on the face of this earth are acceptance and adjustment. The hardest thing in life is to come to an acceptance of what is. See, fear keeps us from developing our gifts, our talents, keeps them from developing and being able to move forward. Every one of us on this lecture today is a very gifted, very talented, and a very, very, very special person. We have gifts and talents that we don't even know we have. And that's the amazing part about it. What do? We sell ourselves short. I can't do that. Why not? Get some help. Let somebody help you, work you through it. Go in the other direction. But you have to learn adjustment. Now, I've learned over the years, I'm grateful that so many mentors and teachers and people came into my life that taught me that, how to adjust to life. You know, when I was studying for my counseling degree, and I was going to LaSalle University, and I had some European faculty members. And my favorite one I told you about before was my Father Jerry. Father Jerry was one of the weirdest faculty members I ever had in my whole entire life. Loved the man. But boy, was he strange. First day of class, I told you this before, we're all nuns and priests. We're in this big classroom. And of course, we're Americans, so we have all of our pens and notepads, and we've got all the books. We're ready to go. He comes in. He's got Bermudas on. He's got a T-shirt, flip-flops. He comes in and he says, "Hello, everybody. What do you want to learn today?" And nobody answered him. We figured he's supposed to give us stuff. "What do you want to learn today?" We didn't answer him. He said, "Okay, then, let's go have lunch," and he left. It was supposed to be a 3-hour class. He's sitting over the cafeteria across the street. We all ran over. "What about the class?" He said, "It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. Have a cup of coffee. Sit down. Say hello to the person next to you. Get to know him a little bit. Relax. We'll do something tomorrow, not today. Tomorrow." You know, but that man scared the living crap out of me. I don't know how to handle him. And yet, he taught me so much. Do you ever realize sometimes that when you have to face situations that are totally different than you? I'm glad I was taught by a primarily European faculty because they looked at life so differently than we do. They didn't get uptight about the things we get uptight about. Probably because they've been through a lot more than we've been through. I know they've been through a lot of wars and things of that effect. They have a bigger history than we do. They've learned a lot more. And many of us, if we go back and look at the histories, not only of our parents, but the history of our families, we go back and look at what people have gone through to come to where we are today, then we learn not to take anything for granted. So many fears have kept people from growing. Yet I know today, I wouldn't be where I am today or doing what I'm doing today if I lived in fear. Now, I'll be honest with you. I always joke, I say I had a second life. My second life, I faced these demons. And to me, control and fear are demons. Because they can literally hold you down, put you down, make you look negatively. Some of the things they talk about in the Iceberg. So many of us get caught up in resentments. We get caught up in blame. We get caught up in being scared. I want somebody else to fix me, to take care of me. And one of the hardest things to learn was responsibility. To be responsible for your own life. And then later on, maybe as parents, to have responsibility for others. And part of responsibility is helping people to let go, helping them to grow, helping them to make their mistakes. So many parents, so many times, and I go back to my own life, we want to do it perfectly, and there is no perfect. Perfect is the ultimate fear. Because basically, people have to grow. How do we grow? We grow by falling down, by making mistakes, by learning, by growing, by screwing up every once in a while. Congratulations. It's all part of it. It's all part of the experience you're going to go through, the things you're going to learn. And if you have the guts and the courage, that's why the Serenity Prayer tells us, courage to change the things I can, courage to look at the things I have to look at, courage to have to face my fears and be able to move through them. Because fear is just an illusion. It's not real. Yes, there are some real fears we should be afraid of. So fear has two sides to it, like anything else. Fear of getting hurt, fear of falling down. Now, in my own life, I've been seeing a therapist now for almost a year. I go every 2 weeks to deal with fear. I know in my own life, I went through a lot of fear of falling. I went through an experience, and it had taught me a lot. And I literally was hiking with my wife in the Poconos, and the name of the trail, by the way, I still can't believe it was called the Trail of Death. How do you name a trail the Trail of Death? Anyway, we were coming down the mountain and I slid on the wet leaves and I was sliding down the side of the mountain right towards the waterfall. And I fell for, I couldn't stop myself. I just kept going. But there was a stump and I literally hit that stump and the stump stopped me. If not, I would have went right over into the waterfall. And I don't know about you, but I held on to that stump. I made love to it. I don't let go of that sucker. It just saved my life. My wife was screaming, and out of the blue, some man came along. He was an ex-Marine. He came down, and it took him, because of fear, it took him 20 minutes to talk me into starting to let go of that stump. I was frozen around it. I was so scared. And as a result of that, I realized other fears came into play. Fear of riding a bike, fear of falling, fear of different things. And I'm grateful that both my chiropractor and someone else recommended a therapist to me to help me work through these fears. Are they totally gone? No. I still get into them every once in a while. And I realize the fact is that it's something I've got to work through. And many of us go through circumstances, situations in life where they can actually paralyze us for a period of time. Fear of getting hurt, fear of making a mistake, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of just being fragile, fragility. I'm so sensitive and fragile. I'm so afraid. Nobody's going to like me. I'm so afraid. We get caught up in relationships a lot of times, and we figure, I found the one. If you want to find the one, that's Hallmark, by the way. If you want to find the one, look in the mirror, will you please? You are the one. Only until you find you do you attract into your life what's supposed to be in your life. And stop all this nonsense. I got to find somebody. I've learned a long time ago, we have to learn to find ourselves. And then I have the fear. Am I going to make a mistake? Is it right? Is it wrong? We got to take risks in life. Sometimes they work. Sometimes they don't work. And sometimes we can't explain it. Things happen in life that we'll never know the explanation for. Many of us have lost family members. Parents have lost children. And children are not supposed to leave us. We're supposed to go first. But life has this turns and things we have no idea they happen. And what we can do is, even though they create a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety, we can't just hold on, put people into a bubble and hide them. Nor can we put ourselves into a bubble and hide ourselves from the world. We live in a real world. The world has a lot of problems. It always will. But I got to walk in that world. I got to function in that world. But I have to realize the fact that I can be strong enough deep down inside of me to be in that world, but not of the world. You heard that phrase before. To be in the world, but not of the world. To be able to realize the fact I'm on a journey. Now, I'm not going to save the world. Please don't try that one. God, I gave that a shot. It doesn't work. God, it doesn't work. I got ordained a priest way back in 1966. I was a youngin' at 26 years old, and I was going to save the whole damn world all by myself. I was raring to go. I ended up with a couple of addictions and a nervous breakdown as a result of trying to save the world. And now I just work on New Jersey. It's a full-time job. What can I tell you? The bottom line is I work on me. I've learned I don't want to save anybody, rescue anybody. I can carry a message. I can't carry the person. I can give a message of my experience, my strength, my hope, and help it will touch others. You're going to learn from everybody around you. One of the greatest experiences I ever had, I get the experience every couple of months to speak at an AA meeting at the 400 Club locally, and I love going there. You know what I love the most? I'm around a lot of young people where I'm learning more things, I'm growing. And it's just neat to be able to be around them, even look at their fashions. I mean, God, I got a pair of things today. We have a nickname for them way back then called dungarees. Now, I know you don't know what a dungaree is. Right, Alana? You don't know what a dungaree is, right? A dungaree are jeans. And now we have jeans that have all the slits and things in them and everything else, and they sell them in the store. My mother probably would have taken those same jeans and used them to clean the house with. The bottom line is things change, styles change, things change. And they get excited about that. Things are different. It's okay. And I like being around people that are different. I was talking to one of the guys at the club, young guy, and one of the fads now is that you don't tie your sneaks. They walk around with the sneaks untied. And I said to him, right in the middle of the talk, I stopped. I said, "Hey, your sneaks are untied. You're gonna trip and fall." He said, "You don't have to worry about that, Vince, because you have Velcro on your sneaks." I said, "Yeah, you hang around to my age and you'll have Velcro too. So don't worry about it." But kidding, fooling around. I've learned so much from my grandkids, from young people around me. But also I'm able to kid around with them. And also I can give them a lot of my experience and my strength and my hope and the crazy things I've come through. Do I have scars? Whew. Tons of them. I call them recovery scars. They're battle scars. We all have them. You gotta have them. They're part of life. They're beautiful. Notice you buy a brand new car and then you want to protect it so it gets no nicks in it or anything to that effect. When it gets its first nick, you want to go berserk and crazy. But then you know what happens? Then it becomes what we call a normal car. It has nicks and scratches and little bruises and things to that effect. And guess what? So do we as human beings. Part of the fear of life is, I'm going to grow old. And by the way, it's fun. But it's not. But it's fun and it's not at the same time. Well, we all got to do it sometime, right? That's how it works. So it's all part of the process we got to go through. But as you get older, you have more aches and pains and you make more noises from different parts. Things begin to happen. What can I tell you? But you begin to laugh a little bit. You laugh at life. Now you know why seniors have more fun. Because we laugh at each other. We've been through the scars and the wars. And now we can share them with others. And I love sitting around talking with people, sharing with people. Because I'm learning more and more. Fear is such a dangerous thing. Fear and shame are connected to one another. They are sisters to each other and brothers to each other. Fear and shame. And we have nothing to be ashamed about. Have we failed sometimes? Yes. But failure should be a gift, not something to fear and be ashamed of. Do we realize the fact that we have our little idiosyncrasies? Of course we do. Our little things that we do. I joke a lot and I say, make a lot of money for starting point. I'll get my wife to roast me. She said, "Are you crazy? I'll get stoned to death," she said. I can't do that. The bottom line is, people, we all have our imperfections. We all have our little things that we do. It's part of life. I guess what I'm trying to say today is live your life. Don't live in fear. Melt the damn iceberg. Get in touch with your feelings, the things going on inside of you. Get in touch with all these things and begin to work past them. I spent a lot of time when I do the last talk on recovery, really getting into how to shed some of this stuff, how to work on it, But the bottom line is we don't realize the fact that control and fear are the core of everything. They're the core of addiction. They're the core of all the things that happen in life. You want to live your life like you have to always be in control of everything. You have to be in charge of everything. You're going to make everything go my way or the highway. It's sad. You're not living. It means you're dead while you're alive. To live my life in fear, to be afraid of other people, what they're going to think. I mean, I use one more example. I was in the priesthood, I was scared to leave. Why? Because I spent so many years in it. In the seminary, it was my normal. I was comfortable there. But I wasn't comfortable there. I don't want to be there. I wanted to make changes in my life. But I was afraid if I made changes to a new element of life, what will my family think? What will people think? How would I survive? How would I get out there? Tons of fears. But the bottom line is I finally had to do it with the help of a lot of people, thank God. And when I did it, I started from scratch and I learned. And very many times, people basically, even my family wasn't too happy about me leaving. But after a while, they adjusted. Everybody adjusts. It's totally amazing. I remember my Aunt Millie when I told her I was engaged to be married. She said to me, "Little boy, you don't know what you're doing. You had it good, and now you're screwing everything up." I said, "I guess you must have a happy marriage. What can I tell you?" The bottom line is, I'm learning over and over again how to take that step. And guess what? Went through adjustment, went through a lot of things in life. I inherited 3 teenage daughters when I got married. That was an adventure. And yet, you know what? We adjusted. We get along great today. First couple of years, a little tough. That's all right. The fact it was tough is good. It means you had to struggle through it and work through it. And we all did. And in time, we got to do that. So we realize in life today is we have to realize that, yes, we are human. And yes, we have feelings. And yes, we're going to make mistakes. And yes, we're going to have fear. But try to stay close to your higher power, close to the gift. And realize the fact that in time, everything finds its way, it works its way. It goes where it's supposed to go. And we go through trauma in life, it can work its way. We get help, get guidance, and get direction, and not try to do it all by ourselves. So my prayer today is that we can let go of our fears, give them to the higher power, the God of our understanding, and allow us to be open to grow, to learn, to move in new directions. And in facing our fears, we also will face our gifts, our talents, our experiences, our strength, and our hope. So let us pray. God, we come before you in prayer today. We ask the God of our understanding, our higher power. We ask our divine presence to help us, to guide us, to lead us. Help us to be able to walk the journey of this earth, knowing that we're going to experience fears and anxiety. We're going to fear changes. We're going to go through things in life. But with your help, your guidance, the direction of the many messengers you'll send into our life. And I've learned over and over again, if I ask for your help, you always send it. Teach me to be open to it. Teach me to be open to new things and new directions in life. Teach me, please, never to be done. To be open to experience a new thing, a new direction, a new person, a new concept. All different types of individuals and people. And learn from each and every one of them. We're all different in one way or another. At the same time, we're all the same. We're just people on a journey to protect, take care of, a journey of experiencing the gifts of life every day. From every experience, if we're able to face it and deal with it, will come our strength and our hope. And so we ask you, please, guide us, be with us, and strengthen us as we walk this journey today and every day in our life. We ask this every day in your name. Amen.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.